Newfoundland and Labrador is known worldwide for its pristine freshwater lakes and rivers. On the island portion of the province, the largest river system is the Exploits. The Exploits River system stretches from the Long Range Mountains on the west coast to Notre Dame Bay in central Newfoundland. The river's watershed encompasses some 12,000 square kilometers. During spring runoff and times of heavy rain, the true power of the river shows, and Mother Nature's spectacle is awe-inspiring. Historically, the Atlantic salmon's journey up the Exploits River only extended to the Bishop's Falls. This natural obstruction prevented the salmon from venturing further upstream, and so salmon were left to spawn in the lower river system. As a result, salmon numbers were naturally destined to be around 1,200 fish. The Exploits River system also enabled the development of hydroelectricity generation to power industry. Two major hydroelectric generating facilities were constructed at Bishop Falls and Grand Falls, as well as dams to control water movement, Goodyear's Dam, North and South Twin Lakes Dam, and Exploits Dam located at the mouth of Red Indian Lake. The development of these water-controlled structures further restricted salmon movement on the river. In the early 1980s, members of the local Chamber of Commerce felt there was a great potential for the Exploits River to be a world-class salmon river. It was a well-known fact that salmon were only utilizing about 10% of the vast Exploits watershed. From these initial ideas, a non-profit group was formed, the Environment Resources Management Association, locally known as ERMA. ERMA took on the responsibility of working with industry and government to make the Exploits Stream a reality. To facilitate the movement of these fish, salmon ladders were installed at various natural obstructions and at all water control structures, including the largest at Bishop Falls and Grand Falls. At the Exploits Dam on Red Indian Lake, a fish elevator system was developed that actually raises salmon in a water holding tank up and over the dam. These ladders have been instrumental in the success story of Atlantic salmon on the Exploits River. In addition to allowing fish passage to new habitat, a facility for salmon egg incubation was constructed. At its peak, the facility incubated approximately 8 million eggs annually and used stock from the lower section of the river as broodstock. From 1986 to 1992, in excess over 50 million young salmon fry were transported by helicopter to streams all over the Exploits River system. In the wild environment, only 10% to 15% of the eggs laid by the female salmon would hatch as salmon fry. But in the controlled and protected environment of a hatchery, this number would increase to over 90%. After 3 years in the fresh water, these fish, measuring approximately 20 centimeters, would smoltify in preparation for their journey downstream to the ocean in late spring. Once in the ocean, their rate of growth would increase rapidly, resulting in these fish returning the following summer as full-grown adult salmon to the very same streams to start the process all over again. After spawning in the fall, these fish will overwinter in the streams, and unlike Pacific salmon which die after spawning, Atlantic salmon will return to spawn several times in their new home streams.
I think the overall success of the program certainly has to be the cooperation between all parties involved, mainly the federal government through the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, industry at the time, the people that operated the hydro generating stations, and of course the public through Environment Resources Management Association. And I think with all levels of cooperation and I guess determination, and of course a lot of dollars too to build this river, and I think that led to the success that it has.
In 1996, the aging steel penstocks at Grand Falls were replaced with a modern power canal. At that time, careful consideration was given to installing a fish diversion system that would divert outgoing salmon smolt and kelp back to the Exploits River and away from the company's hydro turbines. The diversion system is called louver technology, which is actually a behavioral system of plastic bars supported by a floating boom, which stretches across the canal to actually guide fish towards a bypass entrance. An extensive monitoring program was introduced using radio telemetry technology to determine the success of the fish bypass systems at both Grand Falls and Bishop Falls. Since the closure of the paper mill, Nalcor Energy has taken over operations of all hydro facilities and water control structures on the Exploits River. Nalcor has remained committed to the ideals originally developed and has furthered the study of fish diversion technology at Grand Falls and Bishop Falls.
Hydro generation and salmon passage on the same river, there are many opinions on that. I think what we've demonstrated in the past 20 years at Grand Falls and our other facility at Bishop Falls, that certainly hydro generation and salmon passage can exist on the same river. The Exploits River in the past few years has done remarkably well, and through that whole period there's been generation and enhanced generation. Going back about 10-12 years ago by the company on the Exploits River, and through that whole period, through a series of scientific monitoring, the results have been nothing but stellar. And the ERMA project in Grand Falls, Windsor has a special meaning for Nalcor. It's a partnership that has been there for years that we've certainly drawn upon some of the scientific work we've done. There's been a great sense of ownership on both parties and cooperation. And through that period is allowed us to do what we've done and meet the success that we've certainly had.
While the Salmon Enhancement Program was well underway, the association also conducted numerous river cleanup projects, removing debris from along the shoreline. Work also started on restoring habitat that was damaged by 100 years of log driving in the Exploits watershed. Drowned pulpwood has been removed, and old collapsed water control structures that were blockages to salmon migration have been opened up to allow access to even more productive habitat. With the increasing success of the overall project, the public became more and more interested in the river and the opportunities that it presented. The town of Grand Falls, Windsor initialized the construction of a sewage treatment plant to treat all effluent, and major industry in the form of a large pulp and paper mill was ready to invest millions on treating all of their discharge.
One of the biggest additions, I guess, in the last 20 years has been the Samonin Interpretation Center. And we use that as a public education, and a lot of people refer to it certainly as a tourism attraction. People come to the center to learn more about the Atlantic salmon, not only what we've done on the Exploits River, but the species in general. And I certainly feel that when they leave here, they're going away with a greater knowledge and a greater understanding of the struggles of the Atlantic salmon.
The building's lower level has viewing windows that allow visitors to see Atlantic salmon traveling through the fishway on their way to the upper river system spawning grounds. The center has become one of the largest tourism visitor sites in central Newfoundland and provides for public education and awareness for natural freshwater resources.
Well, they come from all over the world. We have our bus loads. What they do when they see the salmon, especially in July month, when we have thousands going up and they're jumping from the top to the bottom, they're really amazed to find out that the Atlantic salmon is different from the Pacific. They don't die after they spawn for the first time. And then we have the enhancement program we tell them about, and they're just amazed that it's a true success story. Instead of no fish, we have thousands coming up per year.
The cooperation and common goal of all stakeholders was the management and development of this natural resource, the Exploits River. From a returning run of about 1,200 in the late 1970s to a current river production approaching 45,000 adult Atlantic salmon, the Exploits River has become known the world over as a benchmark for successful salmon enhancement in a river system. Although the present goal is to maintain a self-sustaining salmon population of 100,000, the Exploits has a potential of over 300,000 salmon. With continued financial and public support and the efforts of community-minded organizations such as ERMA, salmon enhancement can be continued well into the future. Once a river is enhanced, nature takes over and maintains the increased number of salmon that return annually to the river. The Exploits River system has become a world-class Atlantic salmon producing river.